The government only care about one thing, and it's not you. You may have noticed over the last few years, more and more people purchasing buy-to-let or investment properties in limited companies rather than their personal name. In this video, I'm going to show you why that is and maybe why you should be doing the same. Before jumping into a breakdown of what this is and the impact of it, I want to go back a few years because this came into play in 2015. And I remember watching on the TV, it was this couple, a guy called Steve and Gloria, his missus, and they'd been retired for about 15 years from their buy-to-let property portfolio. They were making around £10,000 net a monthly basis, and that was more than enough for them to retire and enjoy their adult life, their later years in adult life. And then this thing called Section 24 came into play. And in 2015, this is where they sort of announced it and it slowly come into play. And get this, their £10,000 a month went down to £1,800 a month net profit. How is that possible? Well, let's break that down because the impact on them is they had to go back to a full-time job. And I know there's some of you that's going to be going, oh no, work. God, that must have been difficult. Well, you imagine saving your whole life, investing in property, taking the risks, and then the government changes their mind from one day to the other, and that's the impact. As I said, this got announced in 2015 and started taking impact in 2017 to 2020. So what exactly was it? Well, pre-2015, most people owned buy-to-let properties in their personal names. And a big reason for this is that everything was tax deductible. It was actually very tax efficient. If you had furniture in your property, you could depreciate against it. So people naturally gamed the system where they'd buy like these £200 furniture packs, chuck it in the loft, and then depreciate against it. It's a bit naughty, but you could get away with it. But also, the interest on your mortgage was fully tax deductible. Obviously, it's a genuine business expense. If you use debt in a business, you get it tax deducted, right? Well, yes, that is exactly what happened until the government in 2015 went, no. You know your biggest expense in property, your interest payments, that's now going to go. If you don't know this, in buy-to-lets, in investments, it's interest only. What that means is when you're paying your loan off each month, you're not actually paying down the loan, you pay interest only. Whereas if you own your personal residence, more than likely you're paying down the capital as well. So it wasn't very sudden. What they did is they essentially said, right, that's not going to account anymore. So it's as if it doesn't exist, which I'll go through the impact of that in a while because you don't really fully understand it, I think. So what they also did is they give a tax relief. So they are going, you are taxed as of today on this, but you've also got a matching tax relief. So you don't really feel the impact. And this was the problem where, imagine you're a retired landlord. You didn't have a clue what was going on. And why would you, by the way? Why would you think about it? Everything's the same. You look at your books, you go, no, things are the same. But then that tax relief goes down and down and down to zero by 2020. And now you are taxed on the whole thing. So let me give you a scenario. Let's say you've got a rent roll of £20,000 a month. I know that's a lot of property, but let's say £20,000 a month. And let's say your interest payments are £10,000 a month. And then you've got your management, maintenance and voids of £4,000 a month. Let's just make up those numbers. So we're making £6,000 profit on that each month. And let's say you're a 40% taxpayer, you're going to pay 40% on that £6,000, which is £2,400. So now you're actually making £3,600 profit. Hopefully you've followed that along. So let's say now that extra £10,000 interest payment is actually not tax deductible. Just so you know, that is legitimately still a cost, but the government decided, nope, no more can you count that as an expense. So just so you understand, we've still got a £20,000 income, we've still got £4,000 of costs, and we've got £10,000 of interest payments. So you're not making, although you are making £6,000 profit, based on the government's new rules, you are making £16,000 profit because that £10,000 no longer counts. So let's then apply 40% tax on that £16,000. And if you do 16,000 at 10%, that's 1,600. Double it, 3,200. Double it again to get 40%. We are at £6,400. So even though you were making £6,000 profit and then taking your tax off of that, now you are paying £6,400 in tax, i.e. you are paying more in tax than you're actually getting in profit. By the way, check those numbers for yourself. Now, whether you're for or against landlords, can you please leave a comment in the comments? Can you agree that is barbaric? Like, that is ridiculous. Please leave a comment on this, because I can't be the only one that looks to that and goes, nah, that's bollocks. Like, you are literally paying more tax than you made in profit. I know we're all for paying tax and contributing, but fuck mine. So you might be asking, why the fuck would they do that? Well, you have to bear in mind, the government ultimately gives a shit about one thing: getting voted in. And actually, I think, this is my opinion here, of course, you could take it as fact if you want. Let me know your comments on this, by the way. So I believe it was for two reasons. Number one, they wanted to get voted in, and landlords in the UK take a right fucking bashing, because we're all slumlords, we're all horrible individuals looking to take advantage of people, the peasants that rent our properties, and we ruin the property market, as some would believe. Personally, I am exactly that, an absolute tyrant. That was a joke. Number two reason is, I think it's to do with tracking. It was really hard to track people's personal properties because whilst there was an official register, it wasn't very searchable. And so what it did is it forced people to put them in limited companies. And in a limited company, by the way, an LTD, it's fully tax deductible. What a shock. It can be fully managed, and obviously they can't change the rules then. Now, the reason they can't change the rule is because they'd have to go to every business in the UK that relies on debt, which is almost every business in the UK, and go, by the way, that ain't tax deductible anymore. Wouldn't put it past the government, to be fair, but it would be a really big uproar. And so you might be thinking, well, surely they just transfer them into their company. This is where it gets really hard. I know this is hard to understand, but when you own a property in your personal name, you own it. When you have a property in a company, you don't own the property. The company owns the property and you own the company. And you might go, well, that's just semantics, right? Well, yeah, in a way, but actually from a tax point of view, a company has its own ownership rights. And so if you transferred them, you would have to actually purchase them from yourself into your company, which would have tax liabilities over here of capital gains tax, and you pay stamp duty as well. So the interesting thing is, most of these landlords ended up having to go back to working full time. And, you know, whilst that's not the end of the world, wouldn't it have been nice if they knew about this, got guided on it, and got educated up front? And this is just a small example, by the way. I see this all the time, and hopefully you're getting value from this YouTube channel to educate you on as many things that are currently coming up in the market. And if you are, then maybe I can add some further value with a free one-to-one strategy session. So what this will look like is, you'll give us an idea of where you're at right now. We'll understand where you want to get to, and then we'll give you strategic step-by-step guidance on how to get there. And if we believe that we genuinely can help you on that journey, then we'll talk to you about what that looks like. There will be an investment in the implementation of that to get you there. Or, worst case scenario, you've got a strategic guide that you can take away for free. So if you want free access to that, put education in the comments. I'll put a link to a landing page. I'll pin it to the top so you can fill in your details, and that is completely free as of filming this video. Click the link, fill in your details, or put education in the comments. So the interesting thing is, most of these landlords ended up having to go back to working full time. And, you know, whilst that's not the end of the world, wouldn't it have been nice if they knew about this? Now, final tip on this, there are some loopholes. So there are ways that technically you can transfer the ownership of the properties into an LLP, a limited liability partnership, which you can then, after a couple of years, put into a limited company. However, there's a lot of debate over that. You need to do it the right way. I am not a qualified tax advisor at all, so please don't take that as advice, but maybe go and talk to a strategic tax advisor and get their expert guidance on your personal situation if you already own a portfolio in your personal name. So good luck, go out there, smash it. I hope this has been valuable. If it has, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you are new. And of course, I'll see you in the next video.